Welcome, everybody. So I'm so happy to have you all here to join me on the journey that I've taken. So the past, I think, 12 to 14 months to get deep into AI and how can AI help us in developing Angular applications. And basically, my journey started, I guess, really 12 to 14 months ago, where I was like a bit torn apart by a lot of message flooding into my social media account. Sometimes it was like finger pointing. So there are wipe coders and look at what they have done. And just a month or a week afterwards, the whole application failed and the whole business was stopped. Or that a lot of people said AI is incapable of solving some problems and the easiest solutions or the easiest problems. And then there were other like posts stating, why do I need a developer anymore? Look what I have built in just 5 minutes. I solved the whole business problem. And my whole team's struggling with it for 3 months. And this really made me think. And I started my own business last year, and it was like in a heavy like market period, unsafe market period, and then also AI kicked in, threatening me, like taking my job apart. So this was like a hard time, and sometimes those changes coming like a big blue-gray wave, right? Like smashing you again and again and again. And sometimes it's like paralyzing for us all. But here's the deal. We cannot control what comes from the outside, right? And we can decide to just surf that wave. And so I decided to surf that wave. One pro tip, and I mean it, do not ever hire me to refine your family photos. Yeah. So this is the result in the end. So by starting writing or surfing that wave, I started using just chat agents. I chatted with ChatGPT, obviously, and I used it for research tasks. And I found out, okay, it really helps me to be more productive and even more effective. I was able to answer questions of my colleagues far better and faster than before. And then I used my first agent. It was completely browser-based, but it helped me just to build the first Angular application. And of course, it wasn't perfect, but it helped me to accelerate my work. And I was quite impressed what was able to be done in just a few minutes or hours. So I kind of got addicted to it, so to speak. And like going that path along, I found out that really about 90% what I read out there in the press and social media is not really reflected and lacks a lot of correctness and lacks also a lot of hands-on experiences. And that's why I am here today to also encourage you to just try things out on your own. And maybe I can give you a few ideas what you can do with Angular today to accelerate your work. But the basic learning for me in 2020, end of 2024, was that AI is just a skill that we are all allowed to learn, and it's not a threat anymore. We all started coding at some point, and we programmed code, and afterwards you learned about, okay, we shall maybe automate our tests, and then you learned unit testing. Then you worked in your teams, and you learned to version your code because you need to collaborate with each other. And now we have AI, and this is just another skill that we can put onto our tool belt to accelerate in our career. So what I want to talk about in the next few minutes is to tell you that Angular prepares you very, very well if it comes to development with AI tools. So we will learn about a very easy tool, but which is really clever, I think, which is the LLM's text file. We will learn something about rules and instructions and how you can use them to accelerate the work in your team. We will have kind of a deep dive in a really neat tool called Web Code Gen Scorer, which was already mentioned by Mark this morning. And finally, I want to talk a little bit about agentic workflows, meaning if you have confidence in what your LLMs produce, that you can delegate all the tasks to your CI/CD pipeline. So what is this LLMs.txt file? So who of you have programmed with agents already for the past 6 months or so? Okay. So maybe you have noticed that maybe in the beginning of this year, agents struggled a little bit with coding Angular. So often we received like outdated APIs or hallucinated APIs. And it turned out that it seemed that models were not trained very well with Angular. But the Angular team is heavily investing in mechanisms to help us to get the most recent best practices and APIs from their documentation to help the model to refine the results when code is generated, basically. And the LLM's text is just a text file, a simple text file where agents that encourages agents to crawl, and it informs the agents which sites have beneficial and valuable information that should be loaded and used to produce a valuable output. And if you ask how LLMs.txt is structured, is it like a robots.txt or a sitemap.xml file? No, it's just a markdown file. It's well structured. It has not that much hierarchies. And it also turned out that markdown is really good when it's been processed by large language models. And here you can see the actual LLMs.txt file that Angular provides to agents that can be easily crawled. And it has all the informations about components, APIs, templates, services, directives, and so on and so forth. So this is a very easy one, right? To warm up ourselves. But I think this shows how the Angular team cares about us and to help us to improve our code even more. Another concept that I want to encourage you to use are rules files. If we prompt something, sometimes we have the experience that things start very well, and then they go horribly wrong when we continue working with prompting. And the problem here is that we have no systematics to have a high-quality prompt at each time. Maybe you can review this prompt here for me. So it's like create a component that allows to rate a product from 1 to 5, create a service that allows to update the rating. So one of the problems here is that it lacks a lot of context, right? The prompt does not tell the model how the implementation has to be done, how the API has to be connected. But this is not even what I mean with the lack of details and information here. We do not have any information for the model that allows us to ensure quality and coding standards. So normally you would be forced never type live on stage. Okay, Gregor, remember it? Like having a section encouraging the model to maybe apply the inject method, to use the signal-based input bindings, and so on and so forth. And from time to time, we cannot do this all over the time in our prompts. And that's why it would be a good way to make those reusable things in the prompts really reusable by extracting them into rule files. So what are rule files? Rule files are basically markdown files, like you have seen in the LLMs.txt file. And you can have multiple markdown files there, always focusing on a very clear aspect on your coding. For example, you could have a rule file with the Angular best practices in it as a starting point. But you can also apply your own coding standards. I believe nearly every one of you in your teams, you have agreed to certain coding standards and templates that you use and reuse all over the time. Here with the markdown files, you have the possibility to create living standards that are used by the large language models. But you can go even further. You can also have like a review markdown file instructing your coding agent to review certain parts of your code base. Or you have a requirement review markdown file to have like a little agent that helps you reviewing existing requirements and to refining them. And nearly every agent now allows you to plug those rules files into the chat process. You can make them loaded every time, or you need to mention them in your chat, or you can specify glob patterns to specify that certain rules files only should be applied in certain parts or areas of your project. The agents then load those rules files, and then you can append your own prompt to it, and you can be sure that all the rules files and the detailed information about your coding are added to your prompt to ensure a higher quality. Another good thing here is, even here, the Angular team is already helping you. So on Angular Dev, you find a predefined rules file with a starting point encouraging the model to use the best practices or the modern Angular APIs. For example, it says avoid the any type. I think it's pretty good. And you also see some learnings here, because models tend to still write the standalone flag in the component decorator. And that's why the Angular team decided to put this here in the list, that the standalone property is not needed anymore and can be safely removed. These are all small tweaks, sure, but these are all help you to have less refinement and less afterwork after the code generation process has been finished. So I have said rules files let you define code standards. So maybe you can raise your hand who has defined coding standards in their projects. And keep your hand raised. Now I have you. Who can make sure that 100% of those coding guidelines are applied all over the project? Okay. No one. Of course, no one. But here's also one thing that I want you to keep in mind. You can have all your coding guidelines inside of those markdown files, and you can use AI to review the code and spot things that break your architecture, break your coding guidelines, to have an easy refactoring guideline to apply those coding guidelines. Coding guidelines also change over time. Of course, you cannot apply everything of it, but here AI tools can really be very, very helpful refactoring your code. And by refactoring, I mean refactoring, not re-engineering. So a tool that really surprised me a few weeks back was the announcement of the Web Code Gen Scorer. And this is a tool not to analyze your application or your project. It is a tool to analyze the quality of your prompting and of your rules and instructions. And basically, it goes by this process here. I hope it is good to read. So you need to feed a runner with a few ingredients. There is a system prompt, which you provide. These are your coding guidelines. And you can provide multiple coding guidelines if you want to. You need to provide a kind of a project template that is used by the runner to create the Angular application. And you can see this here in green. The Angular team already provides lots of, I'd call them application prompts, because they are used to spin up an Angular application and creating a small application view. Then the agent or the runner can start. This can be GenKit or Claude Code or an OpenAI Codex, and they will build all those or generate all those applications in parallel for you. And after those applications are built, they are started in headless mode in a browser. And once they have been started, several tests are run and executed against those applications, like the Lighthouse tests, the accessibility tests. And if something goes horribly wrong during this process, the runner even tries to fix errors and issues. I guess at least 2 times, the runner tries to fix all of those tests. During this process, a lot of information is collected, and finally a rating will be generated for you. And the rating then is provided to you as a report that you can analyze. And it does not stop there. You can rerun this evaluation process again and again and again, tweaking your prompting even further. And then you can see if the outcome has improved or if the quality has decreased, which I think is a really cool tool to have, like an evidence-based decision-making tool to see if our prompting is good enough to be delegated maybe to a CI/CD pipeline. And here's how you can configure the runner for this. Of course, you have to give it a name. If you want to, if you already have you have your project template and all Node modules are already installed locally on your machine, you can just skip the installation. This speeds things up a little bit. You can provide your client-side framework. The web codegen scorer is absolutely front-end framework agnostic. You can also run it with Vue.js plus you. And what you need to provide next is your project template, where it can be found in which source directory. And here's another cool thing. You can apply several ratings that should be run or should be generated. The Angular team here again provides us a few pre-built ratings, but you can just write your own ratings, like executing UI tests, executing unit tests, and so on and so forth. So this is really like having a pluggable system here ready to be a platform to ensure that your prompting is correct. Finally, you need to do two things. One thing is that you provide your system instructions. This is like the source that it will be used to generate your application. And then there is a directory with multiple executable prompts that are used to generate those example applications for you. And again, the Angular team here provides a lot of prompts already, but you can also bring your own if you want to. On the right side, you can see how you can execute this web codegen scorer. You provide an API key first, then you can run an eval command. This is the evaluation process, and then everything gets started. You can just pass like the env Angular example. This will run a pre-configured environment for you. But of course, you can define your own environment and run it against your templates and your infrastructure. After this has been finished, you can call a command called web codegen scorer report. This will spin up a development server and shows you all the reports. And if something goes horribly wrong or you want to have a deeper look in it, the web codegen scorer also allows you to run the generated applications in your browser, and then you can have a deeper look, debug it, and fix all the things that need to be fixed. And of course, after that, you can refine your prompting mechanism as well. Do you want to have a look how it's look like? Okay. So, yes, I've already executed the web codegen scorer report. I do not run the eval process yet because this takes a while, but I can prepare it. And here you can see the UI of the, maybe I might turn the lights on here. And here you can see various evaluation processes that I have run before this talk. And here you can also see how I have refined my prompting and the score, how it has improved or decreased the quality. And this is something that I really, really like, because this allows us to have really evidence-based decision-making on how we can accelerate with AI. This is, I was really surprised. And I also run against different models. You can see the first 4 were running with Claude 4.0 Sonnet. And for the last one, I used Gemini 2.5 Pro. The last 2 runs, I did not change anything about the prompting, and it seemed like that Gemini 2.5 Pro here did the better job at this point. So we can have a look inside of such a report here. We can also see the runner. It's GenKit. You could also replace it with another runner here. And here you can see how this is the summary of all the applications that have been built. During this evaluation process, 5 applications have been built and then compared. And you can drill down as deep as you want to here. You can see that one build was successful at the first time. 2 applications were successful after they have failed in the first try, and 2 were not even able to build. And you can also see that we have security tests. We have already accessibility tests running against our code base. And one tweak that I made, maybe we see it here in some of the reports. One accessibility test failed and said, your contrast colors are not high enough. It's not good to read. And then I just adjust to prompt and provided a color palette that is accessibility friendly. And afterwards, rerunning it, the test was green, which was really nice. Here, for example, you can see that we also have an accessibility violation. And this shows that I miss a level 1 heading here. So you can see that those pre-built tests are really, really detailed. And you can also see if a build fails, a very detailed explanation what went wrong. You can see that it might have been a problem to importing a pipe here. You can also have a look of all the generated code that was generated during the evaluation process. And for sure, you can even run this application if you want to. If you want to run this application, you get the template for the command right here. And you get also a screenshot of the generated application. And as you can already tell from the screenshot, maybe this evaluation was not that perfect. But we can also have a look at this one. It has quite a better score. And we also have already 3 very good attempts and 1 attempt that was not that good. So the first attempt failed again to build. Then we seem to use deprecated CSS here in that point. But again, very, very cool and very detailed. You get instant feedback how good your prompt has been performed. And here, this one looks even better in the design. So to ensure that this is really working and really running, we can just execute just an application. And then our development server is spin up for us. And here you can see this was a coin flip application. And as you can see, it really works as well. Okay, let's play it one more time. Okay. Well, so before I have showed you this tool, you might have been said like, okay, Gregor, we have written good prompts. We have already applied rules and instructions, and they are still failing. But now with this web code gen scorer, you have really the power to measure the things that you are doing. You're not just trying things out in the wild, you're really measuring them. And this is something that I really, really like about it. By the way, there's also a roadmap for the code gen scorer. Currently, as you have seen, only new applications are completely generated. There is a thing on the roadmap that you can also just do edits on existing projects as well. And I'm really looking forward when this feature is finally shipped as well. And now, once you have built the confidence that your prompts are working, you might want to delegate them even further, that you not do this manually in your IDE, but you can have a workflow that does all the things for you. Why do we want to do this? We all still trapped in this quality triangle of software engineering. Every time we try to optimize quality, the price, the time, but still not possible. But AI can help us here in various ways. We can save time by delegating tasks that are reoccurring, like monkey work that we do not want to do. We can cut the costs by delegating recurring tasks. We can enhance the quality by letting continuously run code review agents or security updates as well. And here is where I think agentic workflows can really help us to accelerate in our teams. So what are agentic workflows? Basically, we are only talking about not having one agent, like one chat agent in your IDE, but multiple agents that can communicate with each other via various triggers, if you want to, so to speak. You only want to create a workflow if the output is very clear. So you do not start a workflow like create me a new product that my customers like. No. You create a workflow to say, okay, I need to explore an idea. Give me a first PR to see or to measure if it's technically possible, or shall we go in another way? Or another very clear outcome is if you let an agent review an existing requirement. Who of you have ever read a requirement starting with a very important performance update and in the descriptions, as discussed in the coffee meeting? Or maybe even you have experienced empty requirements during your career, and then you were sitting in front of this in your planning meeting and said, okay, we cannot measure it at all. And here you can add agents as a safeguard for your development team to make the requirements engineering process work before you even start with your work. So how could this look like? We could adopt the existing CI/CD infrastructures of our platform, like GitHub, GitLab, and so on and so forth, or Azure DevOps. And we could listen to certain triggers, like whenever a work item or an issue is created, we could automatically start an issue review agent who makes sure that certain milestones are applied in that issue. And then the agent can either reject or accept this issue. If the issue is rejected, we could automatically notify the issuer and tell him or her just to refine the issue or requirement, and then the whole process can start again. Once the issue is accepted or like has a definition of ready, we could like start, I called it code exploration agent, just to see, to try to implement this feature so that we can have a look how the effort is it complicated or not, could we directly adopt it or not. So, but we can let an agent just develop a code and creating a PR or a merge request out of it. And before we review it, we could even start another agent that is reviewing that PR before we as humans start to work with this manually. So when the PR is reviewed, then we as developers could be notified to finally refine, tune the solution, or even decide to throw the work away and stop our own implementation. And this is also a critical thing. We as developers, we are still the driver, we are still the judge, and we are still in control. And if you think that this is an idea, this is already working. You can create those workflows very easily. You can either use CLI, like the Gemini CLI, or the Claude Code CLI, or Cursor CLI, which can be easily integrated in your existing CI/CD pipelines. Or you can even have more control by adopting AI SDKs, like the Google Agent SDK or Vercel's AI SDK, to have a very deep integration with the AI models that you use. And then you can just connect with the triggers your CI/CD pipeline provides, and then you can just let the thing start rolling. I also have prepared a little demo for it. So the tasks are quite long, have a long running, but I'm pretty sure I can give you a pretty good idea how this can work. You can see here an example repository. And I have a issue here, feature added user profile. And this issue has already been reviewed by an action, and it has some good parts, some bad parts for sure, but it was already accepted. The only thing that I did is I removed a label because I want now to show you that we can easily trigger invocation of an agentic AI. So I just apply the label here. And now we should see here in the Actions tab that an action has been fired up. And what happens here is that now the repository is cloned as always. Then the Claude Code integration for GitHub is loaded here. API for the model is applied. And then we run a predefined prompt to create whatever is specified in this issue. Once this can take a while here, because now you can see it stopped, because now the model is like generating the solution. We can have a look at a pull request that I have prepared. So this was not done by my own. This has also been generated with Claude Code here in this case. And not only that the code was developed here, it also has been already reviewed for me. And again, the pattern is always the same here. We provide a prompt, a system prompt, with a critical review where we can state our architectural concepts. And then the review can make sure that everything that needs to be applied is applied. And as you can see, the model had some good parts here, but there are also some critical things that need to be fixed. And now you can do whatever you like from this point. You could also say, okay, I want to rerun this process and I try to let another agent fix all the issues that has been mentioned in the review. You can do literally everything by using or applying these workflows. So what we have learned, we started very easy and lightweight with the LLM's TXT file. Then we went over to rules and instructions, and I hope you have some ideas now how you can apply them into your team's work. Then my most favorite tool of this year of the Angular team, the Web Code Gen Scorer. I really like this. And finally, we had a look at how we can apply AI in our agentic workflows. And if you're interested in go even deeper here, there's a QR code with a link to the talk, and you will find all the links also to the demos that I have presented during the talk. I encourage you to fork this and then exchange your ideas with it via an issue if you like. I thank you very much for listening and have a nice time here at NGD.